Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of OPP. TJ, how you doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good. You like my new light? It's a little too hot right now. Jeez. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
There we go.
that's why you're in
Finally,
production.
yeah. Looks like I was in the desert there.
Attaboy.
So here we are, November, getting through the fall. Now the Christmas rush is on.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are things in your world?
Good, man. Nonstop. I think like everyone's heads down. Haven't really been talking to too many people, to be honest with you, because no one's got the ability right now. But we know how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just coming off the fall, Christmas rush. Like you said, head is down. Yeah. So the studio here, we're just finishing up retakes. All the mobiles are going. Grad photos are underway. So
Long way to go.
Long way. Yeah. So today, another legend that we have on. TJ, thanks for hooking this one up. This guy we've definitely heard about a lot of times from Dad, even before we met him. You know, he always talked about this guy down in LA that was doing a lot of stuff with seniors that we call grads, and he referred to them all the time. So when we actually met him, we definitely heard about him way before we actually met him, right?
Oh yeah, certainly, man. Like one of the stealth bombers in the industry for sure, right?
Definitely.
Small team, incredibly like efficient business, and just churns them out. And in a very interesting place in the world where, you know, photography and star power are a big thing.
Definitely. Yeah. Third generation guy too. So, maybe my kids will be like him. We'll see.
Yeah, you could only hope for them to. Well, we can both hope that they turn out like this fella, huh?
Yeah, there we go. Well, let's bring him in.
Yeah,
let's bring him in here.
Hello.
Kevin Wade, how are you?
I'm well, and it's great to see you guys. I miss getting connections with you, and get a text from you the other day to set up this meeting was really fun to get together. So thank you.
Yeah, it was great to bring you back.
And I definitely have to start. I'm an LA guy. I born and raised in Los Angeles, and there was sort of a interesting sporting event that was happening through the last few weeks that affected your country as well.
Yep.
And so I'll put on my hat right now.
Oh!
Classic.
This happens to be from 2020, and I don't have the one from 24 or 25 yet.
Wow!
There we go.
Anyway, but I must say that series was one of the best I've ever seen. It was incredible. The Blue Jays were so much fun to watch, and what a great team! It was just awesome, the whole thing.
I don't know whether you guys. That was such a great series.
Yeah.
So many good storylines, such an incredible game. I think easily safe to say one of the greatest sporting events that I think we've all witnessed.
Yes, but it's just so interesting, the whole thing. And I'll take off the hat, so I'm not going to rub your nose in it. Like, that was just for for a moment. Yeah.
Oh, when we were, just for people out there, when we were setting up this interview, we were talking trash back and forth through email about, the Jays Canada's team versus LA. And you kept saying, are you tweaking me? Are you really big fans? And we're like, oh, someone is going to be very sad on this podcast. And it happened to be two of us. So
by all rights, the Dodgers should have lost that one. The clearly better team was the Blue Jays. And somehow we finessed our way through. And it was, I don't know. It was
well done. Yeah. I was going to wear my Blue Jays hat here. So,
But the other thing that ties into photography in my business is the company White Studios was actually started in Canada, actually in Toronto.
Oh, no way.
1898. My grandfather and my father are both Canadian citizens, born in Canada, and so there's a tie-in with our company, with your country as well. And my grandfather, due to health reasons, moved to Southern California in 1921.
Wow.
So when he moved, he was heavy into the photography business in Toronto. He had a White's Photo X-ray company. He had a photo finishing company. He had Alroy Supply Company in Toronto. In those years, they had a whole section of town that was for photographers in a building, and people went to that area if they wanted to have their pictures taken. And so that was the beginning of White Studios, was actually there.
No way. Wow. Yeah. Well, thank God you moved from Canada, because I don't know if we could have competed against you.
Yeah. So anyway, I have a soft spot in my heart for Canada, for sure.
Yeah. That makes sense, man. You're one of the more polite people we've come across in our years.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely had some Canadian roots there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were saying, started in Canada, came over to California in 1921. Do you kind of want to start there and
well, sure, I could just really to bring it up to more interesting thing that your listeners probably would be interested in is more recent, but just a quick snapshot. My grandfather.
I'd love to hear the background for sure.
Yeah, my grandfather moved to the Highland Park area, which is north of Los Angeles, that is now becoming that's being rediscovered, but it was a very middle class part of Los Angeles area where my parents were both raised, and in the 20s and 30s, and he had on the Figueroa Boulevard a store called White's Photo Art Shop, and it was a combination of studio, framing place, selling art supplies, greeting cards, anything that you could imagine, and it was it was a pretty good business going. And then they opened, in addition to that, a studio in Highland Park that when my dad he graduated from high school in 1934, and then was in the studio business with my grandfather, and opened a separate studio just for being, for families and portraits and all of that. And we were doing a little bit of schoolwork in the late 1930s. We started the schoolwork when we moved the studio, opened one in North Hollywood, which is where our studio still is located right now.
Yeah.
But in 1938, 1939, so we were working with North Hollywood High School and doing senior portraits. There weren't contracts. The kids would come in and my father would take pictures to help with their yearbook things at the school. And we have yearbooks starting at North Hollywood High, where we were having the portraits from 1938, 1939. We also did one of the early schools in the Valley was Canoga Park High School, and we started doing the seniors and working with Canoga Park High School in the early 1940s. And then the war hit, and my dad went to work at Lockheed. They couldn't get enough. Their photo supplies were rationed, and so my grandfather continued with the studio, and my dad would help out. But he had a job working at Lockheed at the head of the camera crew and going out and photographing planes, missions. That was a major aircraft factory during the war years, and so that was where he was, and that was actually where he was when he photographed Marilyn Monroe, which was And so this is another a little real quick story there. That she was working in that industry, and somehow she connected, and there's a photo shoot of his work, and I didn't even know about any of this. He had also, in addition to his other photography, he would do modeling and some nude photography and some various things that were sort of interesting at the studio. I have a lot of interesting pictures, actually, but that was aside from the school business. And when he got involved with the school business, we got out of that one. That was sort of But anyway, there's photo. If you looked up Marilyn Monroe and Douglas C. White, there's photo credits. You'll see pictures that he shot of her. There was an exhibit at the Brooklyn Museum of Art, which I went to and saw about it, and it was sort of interesting. So so that was war years.
So cool going and see like your grandfather's work in a museum.
Yeah, that was my father.
Your father. Sorry, father.
That was my father. Yeah, that was my father, and so that was pretty cool. Yeah,
that's nuts.
So anyway, then around the time I was born in 1950, and my grandfather and father, then after the war, they split apart, and my grandfather opened another studio in North Hollywood that was for portraits, and my dad did industrial, aerial, and school photography out of the building which my grandfather had built in 1945, which I still own and we're still operating out of today.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
but my grandfather built the building in 1945, and it was built as a studio, like the whole thing that was laid out with how the camera room would be, dressing rooms, everything about it was laid out and built to be a studio. And so we're still using it.
Wow.
So yeah. And so in 52, my dad split off, and then through the 50s and 60s, the San Fernando Valley exploded with population. And so we went from having 3 high schools in San Fernando, North Hollywood, and Canoga Park, and then all of a sudden there were 10 high schools. And my dad was knocking at the door every time one of these schools opened to get the business, and he got most of them. So we were doing quite a few seniors, and through those years, that's where it started. And our specialty really was the senior portraits. We were not in doing the school days or the underclass pictures at all. We let other people do that business. So we were senior photographers.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of said, like, that's what John talked about all the time, that there's this huge senior photographer down in California, Kevin White, and he's doing this and he's doing that. So yeah, we always heard about it.
Yeah.
Always.
So we operated very, very leanly, and we one of the things in the early 60s to reach some outlying schools, and this may have been an idea where your dad got the idea for the mobile beast things that you call it. We started with a mobile studio in 1965. My dad had a trailer built, and we would take it out to the school. And then have a photographer set up there and doing senior portraits, and we'd take it from school to school to school. I had another one built in '85, a bigger one, and the studio is still using that today. Like, what is that now? 25. That thing is 40 years old. We're still pulling that around and taking it out to Santa Monica High School, and one of the schools we're working with right now is Palisades High School, and their campus got burned, so now they're actually operating their high school out of the mall in downtown Santa Monica. So,
really? Wow. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's definitely probably where we got the mobile idea from. Right there. Yeah.
A big part of like the lore in the family and the company for sure is always like hearing about you guys. So like good way, like super inspirational, bad way, like we always had to kind of follow.
Yeah. Well, your dad was an amazing ambassador for our industry in a wonderful way, and bringing people together. He would come up to me, and we'd shake hands and talk, and then he would say, "You've got to meet," and he'd take me over to meet Gary Krantz, or he'd take me over to meet, other people, because I was not a real, I was not really into the organization that much. I enjoyed going to some things, and we could talk about some of that, but yeah.
Like we said, you flew under the radar there. Stealth bomber.
So one of the okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, as far as getting back to SPAC, an interesting side note of SPAC was that I think my dad was involved with the early part of that whole thing in the late 50s and early 60s. In Los Angeles, the big school district, LA Unified, was having some issues with photographers coming on campus and taking pictures, and then they never show back, and they take the money, and then they were gone, and the photo industry was getting a bad name. And so some of the major photographers in Los Angeles, my dad among them, there were Alfred and Faber Studios and Watson Photography, Thompson Photography. There's a lot of big names, and I think Mickey Dunlap with Dunlap and Turney was another one that you guys know. Mickey. And so they got together and helped them between themselves develop guidelines that they for rules that to engage with the district of what you would have to do. And among them were that when you collected money on campus, you would leave it at the finance office, And then when pictures were delivered, you would ask for a check, and then they would give you the money back. So you weren't taking money away and then not delivering goods. And so we agreed to certain things, but that was an early, and I guess they call it School Photographers of Southern California, SPAC, right? Was that what that was?
No, originally a School Photographers Association of California, but
SPA.
Yeah, School Photographers Association of California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was some of the people that were in that original thing, I think, were part of what was that in Los Angeles. I'm guessing, but I don't know exactly for sure, but I think that was part of that.
I could see that. I mean, a group of people coming together to try to put in guidelines. I mean, lots of guidelines have been made over the years just to make sure that not to regulate the industry, but make sure that like you said, like one guy doesn't give like a black eye to the whole industry, right?
Right.
Yeah, that was keeping everyone as whole.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. Some good history there. And you were saying you heard that at your dinner table.
Well, yeah, Dad. It was there were things he would bring home that were interesting. He was a Kiwanian. He was like one year he was the president of Kiwanis, and he would come home with this funny look on his face, and he'd tell some off-color joke or something, that he picked up at the Kiwanis meeting. Do you have Kiwanis in Vancouver?
I'm not sure.
Like Rotary, or like
Rotary. Yep.
Yeah, that kind of, it was a fraternal, businessman's club in LA. So. That's
awesome. And then so you I guess we can go to maybe let's talk about the earthquake, 1971.
Well, okay, so I grew up in the business like you guys did, where you were working at the studio, and all my life, in fact, in high school, I had work experience. I would leave school at 1 o'clock and go to the studio and develop pictures all afternoon and work in the lab and learn things, and so I was always there, but never thought I would have photography as my career. I just that was not going to happen. And I was at UCLA in business school, and it was going to be in business or go into law, and so I was living in North Hollywood, going to UCLA, and the Silmar earthquake hit, and my dad happened to be at that time living out in Canyon Country, which is on outside of LA a little bit, and it was the epicenter of the earthquake. Essentially, it was called the Silmar quake, and he was living right behind Silmar on the other side of the mountain, and the freeway came down, and I was living like literally 2 blocks from the studio.
Oh wow!
And so the windows were blown out in the front. The place was a mess and everything, and so I went in to help fix things up. And then I started talking to my dad, and I said, well, I'm interested in business. And my dad says, well, I'm interested in retiring. And so I suddenly made the decision, and I dropped out of college and went to work at White Studios. And that was in February of 1971, and never looked back. I was there until I retired in 2018.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So so the earthquake kind of like made the decision for you.
It did. It totally made the decision, and it was actually worked out to be a good one. It actually was fulfilled everything that I could imagine, because I was interested in business. I was not a photographer. I think we did senior portraits. We did thousands and thousands of senior portraits. Myself probably shot 5. That whole. In a clutch where something happened where I had to come into the camera room and shoot a senior portrait. And it was not our best work. I was not a photographer. I was a businessman though. And the idea, and I loved the photography business. There were so many facets to it. The customer service, the relationship with the schools, the technology part of it, which I was fascinated in, and computers and everything. So it was really a good career for me.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. We were just saying that, out of all the operations, I think you've got one of the smallest, in terms of human or just a labor pool, one of the smallest, but with one of the biggest geographic pushes and one of the highest volumes, I think, of senior photos. So it's incredible. So it's clear to me that you structured it like a business. And then I think you're talking something about sitting deposits and the bank loans and how you figured all that out?
That was my dad was always apologizing for prices, and you know, I mean, the price when I went in there, I thought this is really low, and then we would literally take their portrait. If they placed an order, he would ask for like a $5 deposit on like a $30 order, and then people wouldn't pick up their pictures, you know, and it was crazy, you know.
Yeah.
And so I immediately we couldn't get a sitting charge, but I said, well, let's get a sitting deposit, and so pay us the $3 or $5, and then we'll take your portrait and then apply towards your order. And so that flew, and then all of a sudden we had cash flow coming in when the sittings were being taken, and that really helped a lot.
So
and then we upped the order deposit to 50% rather than, you know, $5. We said, okay, well, you're going to at least get half, you know, and then so more incentive for them to pick up the order. So
the concept of the deposit literally is your brainchild.
Yeah. Just, and then it was very easy to go from that to making that deposit a charge, you know. So that was an easy step to make.
Oh, I see. Look at the smile on Mike's face there.
TJ and I are grinning because it's like, I mean, that's probably where John got it from, because we do the deposit model as well, and we're like listening to, we're like, oh yeah, this is definitely where he got it from.
This all makes sense. Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah. Kevin upped the deposit because he had to pay for those broken windows, man.
Right, exactly. You know, and that window, that plate glass window in the front of the studio faced west. Anytime you put a color picture in it, it would fade in about a week. And so I finally decided we don't want a display window showing faded pictures. So I boarded it all up, and we, you know, like the whole front we changed, you know, to not have a west facing photo window. So anyway,
yeah, definitely, yeah.
It's still, it's the building has that classic Hollywood look to it. It's perfectly placed, like in the area that it's in, and everything that era of I think Los Angeles like stands for. It's a beauty. It's cool to know that your blood and sweat's in that building.
Yeah,
totally, absolutely,
and very close to an In-N-Out burger.
Yes, it is.
I know.
The first one that was in, you know, like the Great Lebowski, where he goes to an In-N-Out. That's the one right up the street from the studio. Yeah.
Oh, no way. Yeah. When I went to visit, you guys, that's where we went up to for lunch. Yeah.
In fact, the neighborhood on Radford, where I mean, it was all filmed right there in North Hollywood, and right around the corner from the house I was born in. So that movie, and the bowling alley is right there on Ventura Boulevard that he bowls in and all of that.
No way. Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. Like you said, like a lot of history from there.
Yeah.
So the earthquake happened in 71. I think we kind of skipped over one thing over here, that Nord package printers. I think you guys got one of the.
Oh yeah. Okay. Right? Well, so that was in 1965. We were going great guns with our senior portrait photography. My dad was making a whole lot of money for, you know, it was really going well in black and white, and we had a long roll black and white processor going, and everything was singing, and but we used to print on these easel, you know, enlargers, and you'd have to print everything out, and it was very manual. And Dad heard about this idea of a 4-deck Nord printer that had an 8x10, 2 5x7, 4 3.5x5, or 9 wallet decks, and you could put the paper up there and you could just print all the packages.
Yeah.
And he heard about that, and this was during the Vietnam War, and Fort Ord was the sending off place, and they were taking pictures of all the soldiers leaving to go to Vietnam from Fort Ord, and they got the first package, the Nord package printer on the West Coast. My dad and I went up to visit and see it in action, and dad bought it. And it was a lot of money. I mean, he got a loan to buy this thing because it probably cost like $15,000 or something, you know, which was in 1965 a lot of money. So we got it in, and suddenly the idea, well, this, you know, why run black and white through here? Why don't we move into color? And so along with that printer coming was when my dad made the decision to go into color for senior portraits. That was 1966. So that was the first year we did that, which is pretty early on that transition. And that was a painful transition, believe me.
Oh, really? Yep.
And it was expensive. But anyway, we had and then we got a Nord, some kind of a printer that was I'm sorry, a processor. And we put in our own color lab for a very short period of time. And then we said, it was just like we were spending all our time in the lab. And so we eventually had a guy take over the lab and run it as a separate business, and we gave him the work. So
got it.
Yeah,
so is that how it continued, or did you ever take back your lab, or you just always like?
Well, what happened was that so this guy was in the back of our studio doing our lab work, and he took that package printer that we had. For a while, we had the package printer. There was a lab in LA called Spectracolor, and they actually needed that printer. So we actually took the printer over to them, and then they actually did our work at Spectracolor with our printer. And then we brought it back, and then this guy was running the lab behind the studio for doing our work. But then we outgrew him, and we had this year where he just couldn't get the work out, and then he had a heart attack.
Oh,
and then
geez.
all of a sudden, here I am trying to run my business, and I was back there printing on that damn Nord printer, like trying to get our work out in his lab and getting my work out. And so I made the decision we had to do something bigger. So we interviewed photo labs. We talked to Photic a lot, down in San Diego area, and ended up working with Alpha Color Lab in LA, and that turned out to be a really good choice. And so we worked with Alpha Color, and they did our processing all the way through until digital, where we brought everything back in and did it in-house.
Got it. Yeah. We've definitely heard of Alpha Color. They were a huge lab back in the day.
Yeah. And Mike Tortola, so they were one of our big competitors in Los Angeles, Alfred and Faber Studios. And they had a lot of schools all over, and we competed head to head against them. And then suddenly we were using them for our lab, and so we sort of got they liked what we were doing, and at the point where the guys were getting too old to run it, they made me an offer, and I actually bought their Northridge studio from them and took over 9 of their schools, which we all still have and we're running. But it was a really good relationship, and it was in 1991 I expanded our business with those schools that we got from Alpha Color.
Oh wow!
From Alfred and Fabers.
Yeah, that worked out. Yeah, kind of scary sending your work to your competitor, right? Because they would basically see everything you did.
It was, they saw it, but then at that point we weren't really competing anymore, because we were more value to them. We were spending $500,000 a year in lab bills to them. So it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And so they were very happy. Our work went ahead of theirs, actually, through that lab.
Pretty sure as you're negotiating too.
Yeah. We made sure it worked well, and it was a good relationship.
Yeah. So I guess we can go to that. Obviously there was like film days and you were outsourcing, and then when did you guys get into digital? Were you guys like early adopters?
We were very early adopters. Yeah.
I hear it in there.
Hey, with a lab bill that you just said, I would be an early adopter too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I got very interested in the whole. So getting back to the shows, when I discovered the PMA show, that was just a revelation. I mean, you go to Vegas or Orlando or New Orleans, and you go to a PMA show back in the 90s. It was a big deal. It was like
crazy.
It was just absolutely crazy, but it opened your head to a lot of different things going on in the photo industry. And we would have, as a subsidiary of those conventions, the PSPA, which was the School Photographers Association, that your dad, I think, was part of that as well, wasn't he?
Yep.
Big time.
And you guys and other people. And that's where I met Ira Fox, the Foxmar studio in Florida. And so going to the convention, we were big into the prom business. So like part of the senior portrait, we would do their proms, and that was a business that really exploded. And so Ira turned us on. Well, actually, I think I ran into Dan Reynolds first.
Oh yeah.
And so Reynolds takes me over to. He said, "You got to see this guy over here. He's doing these keychains," because Dan Reynolds was big into the prom business.
Yep.
So I go over and he introduces me to Ira, and so now we start doing the keychains at our proms, and everything Ira and Dan Reynolds said was true. You know, like it was an easy way to pop another $1,000 to $2,000 out of a prom. You know, and so we were selling keychains out the wazoo. You know, and it was really good. But so we met and then started exchanging, and that was like since we were in exactly the same business, the Foxmar and us, but in different markets, we would share ideas, and that was really, really very valuable to us, and I think they picked up stuff too, you know.
Certainly.
But anyway, it was really cool.
Those meetings, good things, bad things. What did you like about them? What things did you not like about them?
About who?
What? Oh, just going to these meetings.
PMA, PSPA.
Oh, you're looking at my notes. Well,
oh yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah. Okay. So the interesting thing about the school business is that for a long time, going to these different association meetings, it was like, if you're a school photographer, oh, you're not really a photographer. You're just, you know, that's not really photography. And if you're really a photographer, you're doing these elaborate studio sittings, you're doing big family groups, you're taking your seniors out on environmental shoots, you know, and it's got to be this, you know, this whole portfolio shoot of, you know, and you'd talk to these guys that were, you know, in these small towns, and that made sense because you only had 25 seniors, right? So you want to make more out of that.
Certainly.
But, you know, we're doing thousands of seniors, and it's really difficult to do that. So anyway, I would come away from these meetings and feeling like I was, you know, a non-person, you know, and I'm just, you know, there for the buck. Well, I was, but that's okay. But it wasn't so much that, you know, like I wasn't interested in wearing medals around my neck of being the master photographer. That wasn't my deal. And so that was the part of these meetings that didn't excite me too much.
Yeah.
So.
Coming from the guy who shot 5 senior sittings.
Exactly.
There's a reason you didn't get the medal, buddy.
Many reasons. My grandfather was a really good portrait photographer. My dad was an okay senior, you know, photographer, and I was not a photographer. So anyway, that's the way that business went.
It just kept going like 100%, 50%, 25%.
Half-Life was a quick fall off. Well, hey, no, the work in the studio is still fantastic, and like everything that your the family set up in terms of like standards still holds strong in the community. And like I always love coming in and seeing this wall that you have of like Hollywood elite, but their kind of formative years, and it's an amazing collection that you guys have built up, given your guys's location. Like you gotta tell us a little bit about that.
Well, our accounts included some of the major private schools in Campbell Hall, Chaminade, and then we worked with Beverly Hills High School. We worked with Malibu High School. We worked with Santa Monica High School. We're currently working with Palisades High School, and these are where a lot of the kids would go, you know, for that. So we have a celebrity wall, and they include. I'm looking through the list. I had Cheryl that works at the studio send me a list of.
There you go.
Who's on the wall, so I could. But like Emilio Estevez. Blake Lively, Dakota Fanning, Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen,
the twins,
Little Romeo, Dean Kane, let's see, Jordan Farmer. He was a Rob Lowe,
classic.
Emilio Estevez, Justine Bateman, Charlie Sheen, Pauly Shore. You know, those are some of the people that are up on our wall.
He was like,
we photographed as senior portraits.
Yeah, teen idols from like the 70s to
Yeah.
and then even today, like I'm there's even people that I'm seeing that you guys are popping up there that are like the new kind of
like
celebrities.
Yeah.
So that was and then I got a call at one point to from one of the studios doing a movie, and they wanted to have a school day setup as in a movie. And so they said, do you have equipment that was used in the early 80s? And I said, well, yeah, we do. You know, and so
he's like, we're still using it now.
We're still using it now. Yeah, we got it. So this was in 2003. And so I had a Z2 or like that kind of a camera and lighting and everything. So I was supposed to go out on the set and do this. This was a movie that had Jennifer Garner and Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, the Hulk.
And called 13 Going on 30. So I go out. So I going out, and so the day before, the guy said, "Well, why don't you just be the photographer on the, like in the movie? Why don't you set up the equipment? So why don't you just do it like you do it? So I won't hire an actor to do this." So I said, "Sure, I'll do that." And my daughter, who happened to be 13 at the time, I said, "Well, could she be an extra on your show?" She said, "Sure, bring her along." And so my daughter was in the movie too.
No way.
So anyway, I go out and I film it, and it turns out that I'm talking. And if you watch the movie 13 Going on 30, the opening credit, you'll hear my voice, and I opened this movie. And so as a result of that, I'm still getting residuals. I'm in SAG, and I get a check for like $26 every quarter, something from
really?
Viewing of that movie. It's actually a very popular movie. So
yeah. No, it's up there. That's incredible. Yeah, we're gonna have to like totally review that.
But that was all a result of being in the school business, right? Taking school pictures.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild where it leads sometimes. I think that's like a recurring theme too with everybody that we get to chat with about the random things that kind of happen with it.
Yeah.
The
other result of that happening was that I looked at myself on screen at age 53, and I weighed about 218 pounds, and I said, I got to lose some weight. So that's now I lost about 40 pounds because of that movie. So I said, this is not going to serve me well to continue looking like this.
Dude, so an earthquake gave you your career choice, and then a movie gave you kind of like
the rest of my life. Yeah.
Avid biker and like constantly traveling, and like one of the more healthy and fit and conscious people. Maybe it's like a California thing, but no, that's you now.
Yeah. So that movie was then your 6th shoot you've ever done.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But it was a lot of fun. It was such a neat bonding experience with my daughter.
That's cool.
We just had a wonderful time, and you see all these stage moms with their kids and everything, and she was part of that. She had to be in the school. They have a little school thing because it's like they had to provide school for these kids.
Yep.
And so it was a whole fun day. Yeah.
That's cool that she got to experience it, and with you too, right?
Yeah.
You talked about it fairly quick, and obviously we've heard about it for forever. Proms, like
yes,
they're definitely not like they are now, but like you were in like the heydays of proms. Maybe can you just talk about that, because there's a lot of people that just like do not know how crazy those were.
Yeah, well, it was so funny. This was an example of the market telling us what we should do. So we offered prom packages that back in the day they were like $5, and you get 2 5x7s and 4 wallets, right?
Yeah.
And we would shoot. Everybody got an exposure, and we were shooting on rollies or Mamiya's, like 12 exposure rolls, and every shot we make a package of, and then we deliver it. Well, suddenly the customer, they weren't buying one package, they were buying 3 packages or 2 packages. And so then we had to photograph them 3 or 4 times,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
and and so they were telling us that they wanted to spend more than $4, you know. And so suddenly we realized that we needed a price list and we needed to offer various packages, you know. So that's
Yeah.
what
And these proms, like lineups were out the door, right? Just for those proms.
the proms were phenomenal. We would have 4 or 5 cameras going, and then we'd have 2 or 3 keychain cameras going. And these were long roll cameras, and we would be photographed in LA. Some of the schools that we photographed, some of the classes were 800 or 900 kids, you know. Wow. And so the proms were huge, absolutely huge, and they were all held at major hotels all over LA. Are you still hearing me?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. No.
Okay, because it sounds like my earbud sounds weird inside.
Yeah, we can hear you. So like, how many packages do you think you printed for like a 800 or 900 population school?
Well, at the prom, we would photograph maybe 500 couples or something, 400 couples.
Jeez.
And the biggest prom I remember, San Fernando High School, which was one of our bigger schools, and they would buy pictures like you would believe. And I think we walked away for that prom that night, and it was like $36,000, you know. Just, and this was, I mean, now that would be the equivalent of 100,000 today, you know. Like this was, I'm talking about in the 80s, you know.
Wow, holy
big money, man!
And it was
the year too.
Yeah, and it was just and then we would have we had a lot of schools, and some nights we would have 4 proms, you know, in different parts of town. And you know, we could have gotten rolled. We're walking the back alley of LA at 1 a.m. We could have been rolled, and you know, like it's unbelievable. We got through all of that, you know, without never having a robbery or anything. It was amazing. But
yeah, like in so many ways you can't pull that up anymore. Like obviously the business just isn't there, but second, like rolling around back alleys with like a duffel bag of cash.
Yeah,
nowadays.
No, literally,
cash,
I would drive home, and I'd get back to the studio. We had these special envelopes for all the money, and then I'd be sitting at my dining room table and counting it to get to the bank. You know, just stacks of. It's just like, you know, it was so crazy. It was such a crazy time. You know.
Oh man.
Like a weekend, I would have like it would be over $100,000 of cash on my desk. You know, like just
bananas.
You know. Anyway.
Bananas, man. That's so sweet.
That whole thing went away. Just, you know, but this was business that literally over a 5-week period in end of April through the beginning of June.
When you need it.
Yeah, it was just this godsend, you know, that would come in. Yeah.
Yeah. So why do you think it went all away? Just like everything went to digital. Like,
I think that parents. It was a big event for kids, and so the parents wanted to make sure they had a good picture of their kids at the prom.
Of the event, yeah.
And now they could take pictures with they know they got a good picture at home before they even, you know, so they could, and then kids started going to picture parties before, you know, like, you know, that the whole thing just really went away. They just evaporated.
Yeah.
But it was really big in LA. I would talk to photographers I do, like say in the Portland area, and it was not nearly as big up there. You know, there was something about the LA thing that was, and also Florida, because Ira had the same business going down in
exactly. Yeah. It was huge in Florida, huge in Hawaii, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I think Hawaii's still going too.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, business wise, you know, there's that, and you're shrewd, and you did the whole thing. But you've also, to me, always been someone that's like balanced life.
Yeah.
And really approached it in like with again, maybe it's a West Coast thing, maybe it's just a Kevin White thing, but whatever it is, like working to have a life, living to work, whatever, like where your philosophy is on that.
Well, I grew up in Los Angeles, and I was really very ready to get out of Los Angeles at a very young age. I bought my first house in '74 after I started at the studio in '71 full time, and then I got married in '71, and then at 21 too early. And anyway, we bought a house, and I was living 2 minutes from the studio, and I was working 6-7 days a week and living right there. And and I didn't like living in LA. So I made a decision that I was going to change my whole thing. And so there was a guy that had worked for my dad for many, many years, and he was older than I was. And we were running the business together, and I was paying my dad off for the business. That was his retirement. And so Jerry and I devised, when I decided I wanted to move to Santa Barbara. And so in 1980, I moved to Santa Barbara. So this was 9 years after I had started working full time at the business. And we both decided, we both worked 3 days a week, overlapping 2 of them. And I would work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Jerry would work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. That's what I started doing in 1980. And so I've been semi-retired since 1980 and running the business from Santa Barbara because I wanted a life, and the business was, I loved the business, but I wanted to set it up to where I was relying and trusting other people. And I got some really good people in, among them the one that you guys both know, Chris, who is the one who I ultimately sold the business to. None of my kids were interested in going into the business, and Chris was a natural because he's just phenomenal. And so, and Chris was the guy that was with me going through the whole, going into the digital age and everything. I started in the computer age before Chris came on board, but through the digital thing was with Chris. But to my whole idea about the work and everything was I worked so that I could have a good life, and I love my life. So yeah,
that's amazing. And there couldn't have been a better suitor to take on the business.
No,
Chris is amazing.
Yeah,
Incredible.
Yeah. Like you said, he worked there for so long, he knew it inside out, right?
Yes.
Like the transition was so good, right? Like it didn't even skip a beat. Right, just kept going.
No, it really was very good. And I retired in 2018, and I was sort of backing away and giving him more and more responsibilities before the actual thing that happened. And when I walked away, there's very few things. He called me up, like the following year. He said, "Kevin, can you come down and shoot a panorama for me?" Sure, I did a few things for him, but so little you wouldn't even believe it. And
seventh shoot.
I've been gone for the business for literally 7-8 years, and he took it over flawlessly.
Wow, that's amazing. Like, so ahead of the curve, right? Like that's what people are doing now, this whole work-life balance. But like you said, you're doing it in the 80s, and
I started
3 days.
That's wild. I didn't know that.
My wife was working full-time, and so when my daughter was born in 1990, Madeline, the one that was 13, but Mondays and Thursdays were Maddie Daddy days, and I was staying at, I was her, we were together hanging out, with my daughter, so we didn't have to have a au pair, every day of the week. 2 of the days I did it. So,
Wow.
So
You set it up real well. Yeah. Wow. And I guess the other thing too is when you moved out to Santa Barbara to your office, that's a long drive, and LA traffic, right? Like, like you could have been in the car for a long time.
I was many hours. It would take, if there's no traffic, like on a Sunday morning, if I drove to the studio, it would take 1 hour and 15 minutes, and it could easily take 2 hours or 2.5 hours. So but I would come down. I'd either go directly to a school on my way, because we had a lot of schools all the way through the valley. So so it worked out. And then as going into the computer age, my office here, like where I am right now, like I could do a lot of work from here. I wrote the whole studio management program here at home, like in the early 80s. So
still working too. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
Awesome. We're still running the same.
Yeah, it's still running. It's incredible.
Yeah. I wrote that in starting around 81, 82, and in DBase. That was the program that I learned about that from Mickey Dunlop, that program, and he gave me some advice on that, and And that's, that was the language I learned and wrote everything.
Another legend, another legend. You wrote this, and this is maybe where we're starting to maybe head into the final questions here, but senior photography. You said what it is, what it isn't. So curious as to what you mean by that.
Well, that goes to really when you think about what is important, and I think you guys do it well, just like we're doing it, and I think, but the idea of the session, people want a nice headshot of your student, and they want a nice cap and gown possibly of their student, and that's really what it's all about. And if you get that, you're going to have happy customers, and it's not hard to do that, and you don't have to spend a lot of time doing that, but you get it right, and you've got a saleable picture. That's really what it is. And so what I don't think the senior portrait thing is these big environmental things where kids are draped over their car and out in a field, like in the grass, like on their hands and multiple clothing changes and all of that. They're interesting, but that's not a senior portrait in my view. So
that's right. Yeah.
And I think the people who strayed from that are the ones that got lost in the weeds, really.
That's right. Yeah. And what we're talking about, you can repeat every day. You could train that to other photographers. You can build on it. You can expand on that. Right. And you built that system, right?
Yes. Yeah. And keep it simple. Don't try to, keep it simple and keep it something that you can move the kids through, have a nice experience for them, but do it in a mobile studio, or do it. You don't have to have this elaborate set to do it. Just keep it simple.
Keep it D-base, right?
Yeah.
No point changing it if it's working.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Kevin, this is awesome. I mean, wow. I mean, we didn't really know a lot of that history on that, and it was so good to reconnect with you and to hear about your story and your studio, and just how innovative you were. Like a lot of the stuff that I mean, we see in the studio that we're doing right now. We definitely know where John grabbed that from. So a lot of what you built is kind of living on up here at Ortona as well. So we thank you for all the help.
We really do.
And we thank you for all of the help, the programs that we've used with you guys with retouching and APE. There's so many things that we've worked together and have a really good relationship. How many years have we been doing that, TJ?
Oh man, it's over a decade now. Yeah. Wow.
It's been, it really has been a really neat cooperation between us.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, it's been amazing. Yeah.
We'll keep it going
for sure. Throw that Dodgers hat on one more time here, so we can end it with your hat on.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
There we go.
We'll give you the glory of closing this one out. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The righty closer. Right. Throwing that in.
All right, you guys.
All right, Kevin. Thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Take care.
Thanks, buddy.
We'll talk to you later.
Bye.